Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of The Financial Confessions with a guest that I'm very excited to introduce because I have been excited about having her on the show for some time now, and we've already gotten into a very interesting conversation right before we turn the cameras on. But before I introduce her and say hello to her, I'd love to say hello to our beloved partners with whom we make every episode of The Financial Confessions. So as you guys know, we make every episode of The Financial Confessions in partnership with Intuit. And if you are not familiar with Intuit, I know that you're familiar with some of their awesome products. They make things like QuickBooks, TurboTax, Mint, Turbo, basically these amazing apps and programs that help you live your financial life better. All of the things that can feel complicated or overwhelming, like doing your taxes or starting a budget, they make the tools that help you do that in a way that's intuitive, but also just generally not that overwhelming. Like, for example, I used to be incredibly resistant to the idea of making a budget. And like 7 years ago, before I even started TFD, I downloaded Mint, and they basically just like, it made my budget for me and put it into nice little pie charts and asked me questions and basically prompted me through the process in a way that allowed me to do it for the first time ever. And Mint is totally free, so why not give it a try? Anyway, that's just one of their amazing products, and if you want to try all of the rest of their awesome products, check out the link in our description or the show notes. So as I mentioned, our guest today is someone that I've been excited to meet for some time. Gotta be honest, I've been reading her column for years and years. Her name is Heather Havrilesky, aka Ask Polly. She's an author, a columnist. Anything else?
Human freak.
Oh, I thought you were gonna be like wife, mama,
Oh, no.
tribe leader, whatever
No.
people put on there.
There are so many titles that I don't want to go down the list. I just get lost.
You just Angelino.
Yeah, and I never have called myself an Angelino.
Do people
actually.
even say that?
Not really. Not here.
Got it. Yeah.
I mean, maybe if you're born here, you call yourself that.
Because people are very into calling themselves New Yorkers.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I would like to call myself a New Yorker.
It sounds chic.
I know it sounds right somehow. Yeah, but
have you
Angelino.
ever you go to New York sometimes?
No, I haven't.
You've never been to New York?
No, I've been to New York a million times.
Okay, good.
I would like to move there immediately.
You would?
I really would. I've been trying to move there for 20 years. It's terrible.
Oh my God. Wait, well, do it.
I'm very stuck here. I'm married.
Married, kids,
Yeah.
house.
My husband's a professor. It's like a very
chic.
Hey.
What does he teach?
He teaches science education at UCLA.
Tell us about Ask Polly, for those who may not know.
Oh, okay. So let's see. Polly is an advice column for people who, I would say it kind of started out as I pitched it to the All very casually when I was in a lull. I've had a kind of strange, bizarre kind of writing career that's kind of had to shift gears many times. Mm-hmm. So at the beginning of my career, it was during the dot-com boom, and I was a cartoonist.
Oh, how cool. My father's a cartoonist.
I worked, who is?
My father's an illustrator. He's a
Oh,
cartoonist. Yeah.
nice. I worked with an illustrator, but I wrote the
you wrote
characters.
The cartoons.
Yeah,
Okay.
I didn't draw.
Got it.
And that was for suck.com, which was one of the first online magazines, actually.
Very cool.
And then I wrote for Salon for 7 years. I was their TV critic. And then I wrote cultural essays and book reviews for a while. And then right around the time that I basically didn't have any kind of steady column, I pitched Ask Polly to the All because I was like, what can I do that doesn't include having to read something, having to watch something on TV, where I'm just inventing everything from scratch. And so I was like, people could write to me and I'll be kind of like tough love, mean, obnoxious.
But what the hell qualifies you to give people advice?
Nothing. I have no qualifications.
Do you ever feel like a sense of who the hell, do you know what I'm saying?
Who am I to say?
Yeah.
I kind of went through a phase. Yes, I mean, that's the overriding feeling of writing my column for sure.
Right.
I do select letters pretty carefully based on where I am and what I have sort of a lot of good intuitive movement around. But I would say that I've learned a lot from writing the column.
About yourself.
Yeah. I mean, when I started out, I wrote a lot about dumping boyfriends. All I really knew was how to dump a boyfriend. And then I sort of got into how to feel your feelings more.
Right.
And then it became sort of how to stop beating yourself up over everything, because
Sure.
it was almost like I had to monitor my own progress constantly in order to have content and to have advice to give. And there's something about giving people advice that makes you very aware of what you have going on. Like, you have to show up and be this strange, perverse sort of non-expert and lay yourself bare. I mean, there's a little bit of me in every column. So yeah, I've sort of evolved through writing the column. I like it when people are blind to themselves.
Yeah.
In ways that I can kind of bust in
And be like, hey,
be a little bit of a dick about it. I
Yeah.
mean, it's hard not to kind of
Satisfying.
That.
Yeah.
I mean, but it's also, I think that probably the best combination is like when you can kind of start out a little rough and then kind of making it sound a little sexual.
Yeah. No.
Oops. Hey. But it's sort of like you. I mean, I like to start with a blast of like, hey, wait, and then it's sort of like you move into a place of like, but I understand. I mean, I never really pick a letter that I don't relate to at some level.
Oh yeah, that's interesting.
There's some level of desperation or need or longing. Like recently, there was one about this woman who moved off grid with an emotionally unavailable man. Have you read that one?
No, but yikes. I want to talk about emotionally unavailable men.
Oh.
Because it's funny. I once said, I was talking about my husband, and I was like, what I love about him most is that he feels intrinsically unknowable to me. Like, he's a very sort of self-contained, mysterious, like, he's very cerebral, very withdrawn, but unconditionally available to me in the sense of like, I never for a second doubt that he's like very present and loves me, but is also sort of like a little obscure as a human being. Like, I never really feel like I understand what he's thinking. And I feel like that's the ideal combo to me.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a very straight woman thing to want, right?
Well, I am a straight woman, so.
Because, I mean, I'm a straight woman too.
Yeah.
So, and I think that like the like understanding that difference, like, oh, I like that I don't know everything. I like.
Right. But to the emotionally unavailable point, that to me, no patience. Like a guy who I'm like, does he love me? Does he want me? Is he interested in other? No. Yeah. None of that. Because I just feel like life's too short.
Oh yeah, no. You can't be in that. I mean, but it's very difficult to exist in some kind of state of. I think you just have to be. I don't know. Should I say unhealthy?
You have to be how so?
to be like wavering in some kind of state of like how could I get more love? I'm not getting enough love. I mean, I have lived there with different
and you like that
boyfriends. No, it's a bad.
No, it's a bad.
It's just like something's wrong if you're living there, right?
Yeah.
It's not comfortable.
But if you have experienced that, I feel like a lot of people don't know, like they don't trust the feeling of someone who is in love with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think that the distinction you make is really important between having someone who can give you emotionally what you need, but still has their own separate self. I mean, I think it takes a strong person actually to accept someone who has boundaries.
Yes.
Right?
Right.
I mean, to respect boundaries and to be interested in boundaries and to notice that you like boundaries.
Yes.
Is a very boundaried person, or at least just an independent person's way of
approaching a relationship.
Yeah, and I don't think that I was there even when I got married.
Interesting.
And I'm a little bit more there now. Like, I'm more impressed with boundaries than I used to be. I'm writing a book about my marriage right now.
Nice.
Which I might just throw it in the fire and give the money back.
Don't do that.
I'm always sort of a little tempted to do that because I'm like, do I want the world to know everything? As a writer, having to write about falling in love with someone and how much they matter to you, and just you get bored with, it's almost like it becomes a boring subject, like where you're just you're constantly trying to not, I mean, this book is going to be really strange. I don't want it to be a sentimental book about what a great marriage I have.
Sure.
I have a marriage.
Who wants to read that?
Yes. And also having a marriage means being, in some kind of tedious hell at some level, no matter what kind of marriage you have. Like just being around another human being all the time and raising kids with that person and being with them for 15 years is its own kind of hellish. And I'm kind of more into capturing the hell than I am into capturing the acceptance and sort of the boundaries and the kind of digging through the shit to get to the good stuff.
Right.
But I'm not as into capturing. I mean, I've kind of struggled to capture falling in love, and I don't love writing about sex. Like, and I don't, it's like it kind of doesn't belong somehow to just go into.
Yeah.
It's almost like ironically, right? Because it's like, here's my marriage, but I'm not talking about your sex life in that.
I don't want to. I just don't want to hear about
anyone's
sex life.
I don't want to know about other people's, especially within.
No thanks.
Yeah, no.
One of my biggest things before I married my husband was I was like, it is very important to me that you have intimate, platonic male relationships. Like he says, I love you to his closest friend. Like they have like little phone dates and like I was like, you must have strong friendships because I do not want to wake up one day and be your only like emotional resource, which I feel is very common. Yes. But the other thing is I was like, you should have a best friend. You should have a closest platonic relationship, which is love and which is powerful to you and which is a different resource than your spouse, because ultimately at the end of the day, I feel like your relationship with your spouse is totally unique and shouldn't also be your best platonic relationship. Yeah. I don't know. I'm not an advice columnist.
Well, I think that I feel like, I hate to go into the generational thing, but I do think that my generation, Generation X, is a little less skilled at that.
Interesting. I think maintaining really strong platonic relationships.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we don't have a good culture around friendship. I don't think. I think we don't have. I mean, just based on casual observation, I think that it would never have occurred to me to say something like that to my husband, but I should have said it a long time ago.
Really? Does he have very good friends?
He has good friends, but they're just, I mean, it's just like straight guy friends. He needs
they need to cry sometimes.
Oh my God. He goes to our hairdresser and has the time of his life.
Because he gets to talk.
Yes. And I think that he needs, this is great. Sorry, Bill. I think he needs gay male friends. I think he needs female friends. Yeah. I mean, I'd like for him to have a kaleidoscope of friends the way I do. Yeah. Because I have a ton of friends, and I'm constantly like, "You're a friend too." Yeah. I'm at a stage where I'm like, like a friend hoarder.
Yes. Well, I feel like there's so many interesting studies that show how beneficial it is to women as they age that they have a lot of friends and that they have a lot of people with whom they feel truly connected.
That's the last time I want you to say as they age to me.
No, I'm literally what I'm thinking of is
like get very old.
No, I'm thinking like senior women have a lot of friends.
Yes, absolutely.
Which becomes incredibly important as their husbands die younger.
Yes.
I mean, it's a whole thing, but I do feel that feeling of like, especially when I read columns like yours, because it's probably, I mean, I don't know the statistics, but it seems like mostly women who write in and mostly women who read.
Mostly, yeah.
And in many ways,
I don't know about read. I think they did some kind of little sneaky thing where they figured out that it was a lot of men, like more than they thought.
But
the men don't blab about it that much.
Right, but they should. They should be writing in. They should be asking these questions. They should be like my number one political platform, all boomer men should be in therapy. Every last one of them.
Oh, God.
How much better would the country be if every boomer man was in therapy?
Oh, my God. That's hard to even picture. What would they do in therapy?
Cry. Express vulnerability.
Crawl into a fetal position and just weep and suck on their thumbs?
Have an out. I don't know. I feel like, I mean, obviously so much of what you do is about examining the sort of machinations behind behavior that can often otherwise feel kind of like on autopilot.
Yeah.
And I feel like that just doesn't get done enough.
No, I mean, and also the intersection of the way that our culture teaches us to be, the way we metabolize our culture and believe that it's a part of our bodies and a part of ourselves, and we don't question it. Understanding even what culture is sometimes hard for people.
Right.
Just like how much of what they do is conscripted by and limited by culture. But then the intersection of those things, like right now I'm in this phase of like, how do you accommodate your truest desires in the context of a culture that is not really into desire?
Right.
Like, we're in a moment, especially I think right now, that is very sort of into like self-denial and sort of a moralistic kind of space.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, I think that there are all these ways that people just don't even feel comfortable exerting their will in the world.
Right.
You know, especially women, I think, struggle with that. Like just taking up space and owning who they are and doing what they want to do. And also even just locating what you want. Like,
Yeah.
I think that, and to segue to money as an issue, I think that in some ways, money clouds all of these things and makes it can be extremely difficult not to, I mean, when I had less money, I really struggled with the idea of doing anything that involved money. Mm-hmm. And I drew a little narrow, it was almost like became an excuse to be a hermit, that everything that I could do when I left the house would cost money.
Right.
So I shouldn't leave the house, essentially.
Right.
I mean, there are just all these layers of guilt around serving yourself in our culture, I think. Ironically, because the culture is all about you need more of everything to be happy.
You have an essay in your book that I wanted to talk about because I feel like it so taps into what we talk about at TFD. It's an essay that looks at Mad Men and at 50 Shades of Grey as these kind of dual explorations of people who are constantly yearning after more, usually in a consumer/class sense.
Yeah.
And they kind of represent opposite approaches to that. You make the point, which I think is a great point. Another writer I really like talked about that as well, Ashley Ford was recently on the show, that the ultimate sort of sexy thing in 50 Shades of Grey is just that he's extremely fucking rich. And that's the real sort of point of lust. But you also kind of explore how in Mad Men, which is my all-time favorite show, I've seen every episode like 15 times, the point is that like all of Don's yearning for more and getting more leaves him feeling emptier and worse. Mm-hmm. And yet in 50 Shades of Grey, the sort of takeaway is that like getting more is awesome.
Yeah.
And makes you feel great and and makes your relationship better even to a large extent.
Oh, walking into a really nice bathroom in a restaurant with good lighting practically gives you an orgasm.
Right.
In 50 Shades of Grey.
That's sort of the takeaway. And I found that
because she documents every little moment of luxurious service. He stepped up and quietly poured the champagne and stepped back. Thank you, Mrs. Grey, or whatever the hell.
And I found that so interesting because one of the things that we talk about a lot on TFD is the concept of lifestyle inflation and the concept of, because you don't have to be a billionaire in order for you to get slightly better tastes of everything.
Yeah.
And then now the thing that you did yesterday that used to be fantastic is you're like, ugh, could you even believe I ever did that? Do you find in your own life, and you mentioned that you went from having less money to having substantially more of it, that you have been able to combat lifestyle inflation?
Yeah, but the way that I do it is through neglect. I have, just for example, I bought my house in 2000. Well, my first house I bought in like 2003. I had a little bit of inherited money from my dad who died young, when I was 25.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, so I first bought Apple stock in 97.
Whoa.
Just a little pat on the head. And then I sold it in 2003.
Oh no!
Ooh. And bought a crappy house.
Isn't that like the worst time to have sold it?
Yeah.
Wasn't
much.
that during like the jobs exodus?
It wasn't down. It wasn't down. It was up, but it kept going up from there.
Oh,
man. A lot. And I remember talking to this. I talked to some kind of investment friend. And I was like, I really just want to hold on to the Apple stock. I just feel I was just planning on holding it for like 10 years. I just feel like I believe in Apple. I just want to hold on to that. Shouldn't I just hold on to that? And he was like, whatever, you can just buy it back. And I was like, you don't quite understand. Like once it's gone, I'm not going to be able to buy it back.
Who is this person who told you that?
And it's just a rich person. Like you can't get advice from people who have enough money that they're just like, yeah, just buy the stock again. No problem. God. It's just a bet. Who cares? I was like,
sue that man for malpractice.
I didn't have an extra two dimes to rub together for the next decade, like there was no buying back. Plus it shot up immediately, of course. But by the same token, there's you weigh that against the lifestyle of like, I had my first house. I fixed it up. It was like my full-time project. I loved it. I was able to dump the boyfriend who lived in the house and kick him out. And I still own the house.
Wow.
It's like, it's emotional freedom to own your own property,
Totally.
I had a dog. And that became my partner.
Yeah.
Sort of, like
well, hopefully not in all ways.
No. I know it sounded not quite right. No, just like, slept in my giant bed with me.
Yeah.
Like all dogs do. If
They
you're
do that.
not married, unfortunately, then you get married and your dogs get kicked onto the floor and
Not
your life
mine.
is worse.
My dog has a place of prominence. And it's funny because my husband's, this is like, we gotta have a bell for any time I say this. My husband's 6'4". It is relevant to this anecdote. And we have a
You like to bring that in at all times?
Listen, it's
I
not
would
even
too.
that I seek it out, but in this case it's relevant because we share a queen bed, which is not that large for two people, especially if one is a gentle giant. And we have a small dog in the bed, but she's 8 pounds. So how do you let's get back to the neglect. As a means of avoiding lifestyle inflation. So you just basically like keep a low level of life quality.
Well, okay, so I had this house that I fixed up by myself, and it was pretty, I mean, I got it to where it was nice, and I was able to sell it. The market was down. It was like 2010.
Timing has really not been your thing in this story.
Well, I was buying another house, so it's fine.
Okay. Yeah. So that one was also depressed in value.
Yeah, so the other house is worth twice as much now, and it was just barely affordable then. And it was bigger. Like at the time, I had my stepson lived with us, and we had 2 little kids. So we had 2 giant dogs in a like 1,300 square foot little scrappy house. So we moved.
That's enormous. I live in New York. That's a mansion.
Well, yeah. Okay, so yes, it was. I mean, we had a big yard. Actually, it was nice. It was whatever. It was great. But we moved to a public school district that was good for the kids, and I don't know. It just sounds so Karen-y.
What does Karen-y mean?
Karen,
Who's
like
Karen?
I'm a Karen. Okay, Karen. Shut up, Karen.
No, but that's good. That sounds very
Good.
like
Karen's not good.
No, but you seem like a very your decisions seem sound.
Oh, I have made solid, very practical decisions for most of my life. I would say from age 32 till maybe last year, I was making incredibly just solid decisions.
And before that, chaos.
Before that, like drunken chaos.
Nice.
And now I long for drunken chaos again. I'm moving back towards chaos a little bit.
How old are the kids?
My youngest daughter's 10, my older daughter's 13, and my stepson is 23.
All right,
So
well,
everyone's
they're moving into independence,
Yeah.
and you can reintroduce a little chaos into your life.
Yes, exactly.
Do spontaneous kind of crazy things.
Part of this is just like making enough money that you actually feel like you can just do what you want to do a little bit.
Yeah.
Within limits.
Speaking of you having a 13-year-old, drop the skincare routine.
Oh, well, can I just say the dumb thing about my stupid house? About staying down to
Oh,
earth.
yes,
I forgot
yes.
I always forget to finish the point. I find myself down various tributaries. I have a bathroom that is exactly the same as when I moved into my house. It is bright red. There's like a volcano-y kind of cut mirror that's got rough edges. There's a black toilet in this This is the main bathroom in my house, okay? And so when I walk into this terrible bathroom, I'm like, I know I'm not going crazy. I know I'm not wasting a lot of my money because I still haven't done anything with this shitty bathroom. It's like
That's
a way
good.
of saying, and it's sort of like there are aspects of my environment that remind me that I'm not that bourgeois, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like that's a grounding thing. Like
That's
some
good.
of my house is kind of nice, and then other things. I don't really believe in having a hotel-like house, for example. Like every inch of it is perfect.
Yeah, I don't like that.
Because that's lifestyle inflation too.
I
Like
agree.
everyone feels like they have to have, once they have some money, they have to make sure everything is perfectly designed, and recognizing that you have a value, that you care about how things look is important if you care, and I do care. But also balancing that out with things don't have to be perfect. I mean, my book is a little bit about that.
Yeah, no, it
you
is.
don't need to live. You don't always have to. If you really rebel against, oh God, this space is so, the lighting's bad in here. Something's going wrong in your emotional state.
Yeah.
If you can't just exist in an imperfect place or look at a dirty window.
Ooh, I have that though. My home is my life. I love my home. I'm very into home. And I hate my bedroom right now. And we've only lived there for 2.5 months. So it's who am I that it's already, the rest of it's exactly the way I'm by my bedroom. Every time I walk in there, it drains my will
My
to live.
bedroom's kind of shitty too.
Yeah.
actually.
But I just feel like in that case, just pick a long weekend
Pick a thing, yeah.
and just do it.
Yeah.
But it has to be a concerted, dedicated time that you totally redo the room.
You can't half do it.
No.
You gotta get
because living in any kind of transition is worse than living in a room that's bad, I feel.
A transitional half bad, like, yeah.
Yeah, like that's like one wall's painted, like stuff isn't on the wall yet. It's like leaned up. Anyway. But you know what's interesting about, if you're going to save up for your house, I mean, I hate to say it, but you're also going to have to pay those taxes. It's tax time, baby. It's that time. And nothing feels worse than entering into tax time feeling totally unprepared and overwhelmed. So I cannot recommend enough that you guys check out TurboTax so you can go into that tax time with a peace of mind. TurboTax is basically software that walks you through the process of preparing your taxes in a really effortless and intuitive way. It prompts you on all the questions, it helps you make sure you're doing it correctly, and it helps ensure at the end that you're getting the maximum possible refund that you're entitled to. Nothing can feel more scary at tax time than potentially not getting all the money you're entitled to because you didn't know how to file your taxes properly. So don't leave it to chance. Use a program that will help you walk through the process and feel confident that you've done your taxes right. I've used TurboTax many times in my life and can highly recommend it personally. Check TurboTax out at the link in our description or our show notes. So I'm not letting you off the hook. Drop the skincare routine.
Skincare routine.
You have good skin.
Good skin.
Those of you listening on podcast, turn on YouTube so you can see the skin.
Okay, so first I'm going to go straight for like the mega expensive old lady thing. Is that okay?
Please.
Let's dive right into this insane thing.
Okay.
So I feel like I'm like looking for excuses to talk about this all the time. And I'm sure someone will say, no, that's shitty for you. It'll kill you or something. And I'll be like, oh no. But I have blepharitis. Okay, so I have acne rosacea and I have blepharitis.
I have rosacea.
You have rosacea too? Okay, you might want to hear this part then.
I'm listening.
I had like a cyst, a chalazion on my eye, like a witch thing.
Like
so it was
sty?
like I would get these little styes and I ignored them and I wasn't like washing my makeup off enough, which is not good.
Not good.
And so this one sty turned into this marble in my eyelid, and they had to do this Clockwork Orange style thing where they opened my eyelid and clamped it open while I was totally awake.
I mean, I assume numbed to some extent.
I think I took some kind of, like, I did take something to relax me because that was horrendous. And they had to cut this thing out. Anyway, so in order to avoid that, the eye surgeon said, you need to get IPL. It's a laser thing where they laser your face and it burns off. It sounds terrible. Any red and any brown. Okay? So, and I actually just had it done a few days ago, so I have these big black patches right here. They're covered in makeup. But since I did this last year, it changes. I mean, it sounds like such a middle-aged lady thing, but it actually got rid of my acne completely.
What is it called?
IPL.
How much does it cost?
It's like $350 in LA.
$350?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you go in and it feels like a rubber band snapping, and like all of the brown and the red stuff comes off, and you just think like, who cares? Who gives a shit about red and brown?
But it totally evens out your complexion.
It kept me from getting any more of this red eyelid horseshit, which was a nightmare. It got rid of my rosacea pretty much. I mean, I do use a medicine for it. It makes your skin kind of porcelainy, which I've never had. Mm-hmm. And I broke out. I break out. I don't really break out anymore. It's insane.
Shout out to friend of TFD. She'll be at it will already have happened by this time. But Amanda Mull at The Atlantic wrote a fantastic article about the best skincare just being money.
It's messed up.
It's so unfair.
You stumble on this. The thing is, you go to a dermatologist and you say, especially at a certain age, you're like, I don't know, my skin. They're like, what are you dissatisfied with? And you're like, I don't know. I don't trust you. Like, I don't want you coming up on my face and, injecting shit. Like people do crazy things at my age. But this is like, it makes your skin look younger. Yeah. It somehow minimizes wrinkles.
I'm actually writing this down.
It kind of is all of the things in one. And I'm kind of I'm a little bit religious about it.
It's called?
IPL.
IPL.
Something laser. And there are I guess there are 3 different kinds.
Nice.
Anyway, so that I have to say that because I don't want to just say, oh, I buy this one cream.
Yeah, no.
It feels a little bit deceptive.
Any products you love though?
I love fresh black tea corset cream. It's nice. I have some in my bag. It's like fresh. I don't know what's fresh. You can buy it at Sephora. It seems kind of pedestrian. This stuff smells.
Drag them.
I know. Well, it's just like, who cares? I never really believed in creams.
Yeah, I'm all about the creams.
But, when you break out, you kind of think that creams are going to mess you up. No, cream's good.
See, I've had bad skin my whole life. It's been my thing my whole life. But I have incredibly dry skin. Painfully dry skin. So creams have been my entire life's quest. Yeah, but you should honestly, if you had to live in my face with the tightness and the dryness and the flakiness.
I think I had that too and I didn't realize it. Because I have oily skin, but I also have red. Right? Oily and red together. Combination and red and
not a good combo.
And also in LA you need a lot of cream. But let me just also say the mask, the overnight mask, same
My
thing.
mom uses the fresh overnight mask.
Black tea, corset cream overnight mask. It's kind of stretchy. Like it's like jelly kind of. It's like putting jam on your face. It is delightful and I strongly recommend it.
Interesting.
Yeah, I do it every day.
I'm weirdly self-conscious about when I'm sleeping I want to look decent. It's
what? Why?
I have an irrational fear that I'm going to die in my sleep and they're going to come get me and I'm going to
look bad?
Bad.
I just recently stopped sleeping in giant Archie Bunkery. You don't even know who Archie Bunker is.
Of course I know who Archie Bunker is.
Rags. And I sleep in a lingerie type thing.
Yeah, I've gotten into
I'm so proud of
pajama.
myself.
Yeah.
A good a sexy. It's soft but sexy.
I mean, Ryan just saw me walking around in my I wear a Bernstein bear. I have a little striped pajama dress.
That can be sexy.
Yeah, no, but I also have sexy stuff. But I usually am wearing stuff that I should be wearing one of those little caps and carrying a candle on a tray. Anyway, God knows I shouldn't be found in that if I die. Okay, so you have another essay in your book that I think our audience would love to talk about because we're not in the exact same space as this gentleman, but he really overlaps with a lot of the personal finance, self-improvement kind of universe, and that's Tim Ferriss. And you wrote a chapter that's mostly focused on him and his books, but is more broadly about the concept of gurus and life hacking and mastering your own life and body and self. And a lot of kind of the, maybe not necessarily the shortcomings of that approach, but the sort of hollowness in a lot of ways of that approach. And first and foremost, tell us, especially for those who haven't read the book, what your take on what a guru is and how Tim Ferriss plays into that.
Well, I mean, okay, so gurus, I was struggling with the concept of gurus because my last book before this was really about, it was Ask Polly columns, right? So it was really a book of advice. And so I was toying a lot with what my role in the world should be and how I could navigate as a person who represents, I give advice. I'm a person who knows a few things, without either being totally disappointing physically and emotionally and everything when you show up at a reading and there she is and Jesus, why would I ever take advice from that terrible person? But so that was part of it. But then when you get into that space of what should I be? How should I seem if I'm going to get, bestow, wisdom on people and, live? What shouldn't I be prettier and more fashionable? And then when you get into those layers of how do I game my body to be, better? And also just when you're obsessed with self-improvement, which you tend to be when you're giving people advice all the time and you're trying to solve the problem of how to fix their lives, right? You start to understand the folds of where you could easily become just a mutant who is so fixated on optimizing every dimension of their reality that you almost become like a cyborg who can't just exist in a moment and be imperfect and accept the imperfection of other people also. Like,
Right.
I think that there's like a space in our culture where people just feel like, Jesus, I'm really doing this. I'm firing on all pistons. Look at all the, look, the secret doors are opening up. I'm meeting interesting, amazing people who have money and are fabulous, and they want to know me because they read my shit. And it's easy to get into this it's not that glamorous, but into this space of, in order to be with these people, I'm going to need to be living my best life and being my best. And if you're a neurotic person, which I am, your brain turns against you because it's like, hold on, you give people advice? What the hell are you doing? Like, why are you wearing that underwear?
Yeah, like everything is called into question.
Everything's called into question, including like, there's a dust bunny in the corner.
Right.
Why are there smudges on your windows? Like, what's going on with you? Like, why are your roots gray?
What does that represent?
I think that we're in a time in history where, here I am on camera, right? You hear my voice. What if I had a weird voice? You can see me now. It's intense to be a writer who's also supposed to be a brand that represents. Everyone is in this space. You don't have to be a writer.
Yeah.
Our world is making brands out of all people. And in order to survive, you kind of need, especially as a writer, you need several income streams. You have to be managing your business and owning your brand and promoting and all these layers of things. So in the process of looking through that, the main thing I think that I dedicated myself to was like not selling other people on a way of life avoiding selling people something that was basically just enabled by money, right? Or enabled by whiteness, or enabled by, I'm married
maleness.
I'm married to a professor and I'm fine and I live in the suburbs. Like, trying to understand, like, not like a, hey, it's so easy. You just work this amount and then you go surf in Costa Rica. It's fucking fun and great, man.
Yeah.
Let's go with your friends, Steve Jobs and,
Mark Cuban. Cubes.
Yeah. We've hacked life, man. We figured it out.
Yeah.
And it's like, and then to also call your privilege, I am the best life hacker there is.
Yeah.
Like, and also there's the feminine version of that. It's like sort of, not to dogpile Gwyneth, but Goop is
dogpile her. Like, I'm sorry. Okay. You point out something. So first and foremost, like, Tim Ferriss's brand and his approach to life is just like fundamentally not for me. Like, I'm very much like, I'm similar to you in that I like a life that feels imperfect and, open to the sort of messiness of reality. I like all of that stuff. And I don't like looking at myself through a prism of optimization, because I think that easily for a lot of people can spiral into a kind of mania where it's never
and also dissatisfaction
with any natural imperfections. But I think what was most compelling to me about it was the point that for so many of these gurus, Tim Ferriss only being one of them, there's such a lack of any kind of analysis that extends beyond the self, almost by necessity, because you can't really bring into question, like, what are your structural advantages and disadvantages, or like, what should you do if you have crippling medical debt or can't afford to feed your family, or any of these things, or having a harder time getting hired for the same job because of, the body that you might be in, all of these things. There's nothing around it. It's all sort of in a vacuum. But then a step further, it's not really going toward anything. There's no intrinsic motivation of like, because it would be understandable to say, I want to have 60 hours free a week because I want to work on this very specific problem that needs solving. And I need to dedicate all of my resources. And there are people who are that way, to give as much as they can of themselves to a specific thing. But a perfect example for me, so I'm someone I've done intermittent fasting for, it's like almost 4 years now. And I initially lost like 25, 30 pounds doing it. And then I've just kind of like maintained for the rest of it. But it's funny because I initially did it for a very specific reason, which continues to be the specific reason, which is that I need a certain amount of calories per day that's kind of low. And I really want to be able to eat a big dinner and have dessert and not really worry about it. And that's basically the only way to do it, because otherwise I have to cut up my meals into like 3 really shitty low-calorie meals every day. And so
so what do you do? You just don't eat for 12 hours a day or
so
something?
generally speaking, I won't eat until around 1 p.m. I have a very small lunch, like high protein but relatively low calorie, and then I just literally eat whatever I want for dinner and don't think about it. And so, but for me, that intermittent fasting is and always has been a very specific means to a very specific goal that is centered in my own enjoyment of life.
Yes.
And when I read about intermittent fasting, like, God forbid I go on those fucking forums, because it is just nothing but people who are interested in doing it for some sort of like biohacking self-optimization. But I'm like, are you even enjoying this? Like, are you even getting anything out of it? And of course, you know, the reputation because of these gurus of intermittent fasting is a terrible one. But ultimately, I think it can get that way because you're not really doing it for anything.
Yeah.
You know, there's no goal. I think the broader thing, though, is that, like, ultimately, and this is something that we talk about in the prism of money, is like, there are a lot of people who become obsessed with money as almost sort of a game or as an abstract concept, and it becomes about the number, and it becomes about what you're able to do with that number and the manipulations and the machinations. But ultimately, at its core, money should either be a very direct means to living a life that you enjoy and that is healthy and good for you. And really much beyond that, listen, I believe it should be redistributed. But if you're not going to say that, at the very least, you should not be giving up more of your time and more of yourself to just accumulate more of it.
Yes.
Money should be about life, but so should any quote-unquote optimization of the self.
Well, okay. I do understand the obsession with numbers. Like, I'm kind of a numbers person, and I love numbers. So watching numbers grow is just especially if you're kind of into investing. And I mean, I'm not now, but I have in the past at times been like just into watching the numbers grow, and making charts and saying, like, if I save this much, how much will it grow by the the time?
And that can be
and
enjoyable.
Everything stays exactly the same. But I just want to say, like, that's its own strange sport.
Right.
But where it becomes corrupted to me is when you don't understand why you have so much excess and you don't even know what like you're saying, you don't even know what the goal is. And it's corrupting in a sense of, like, I wouldn't want a single drop of this to be, like, if I can choose between paying more taxes and paying less taxes, of course, like, not having like the principles in place where you're like, please, someone make me pay more taxes.
Right.
I'm probably not paying enough.
Right.
Or just not paying attention. Like, look around you. No one can afford to pay their gas bill.
Right.
And you're, like, look at how you're living.
Well, I think that's...
Why do you need this pile? And
Sure.
And actually, we're in a space now where I think people are using, ironically, somewhat, climate change and the apocalypse as an excuse to stockpile more money to ensure that their children are safe from the tides or whatever the fuck. And it's sort of like, I just think that people are in this anxious state around, it's sort of like the college admissions scandal is one reflection of that culturally.
Right.
And the corruption in that. I mean, the reason that people are drooling to see these people go to jail, Lori Loughlin, I think, is going to go at some point. And it's just a delicious story because, I mean, she's a human being. We all make mistakes, but it's just the embodiment of my kid deserves this golden path.
And all that I have,
even though is
not enough.
I'm just some jackhole that wandered up to a giant pile of money. I mean, whatever. I don't know her story,
but I think that taps into something that really kind of dovetails, whether it's with money and the accumulation of it or with the perfection and optimization of your life. Ultimately, what it boils down to is an obsessive focus on the self. Yeah. And I personally believe that life is automatically better in almost every way, and I think a lot of studies bear this out, when your focus is on communities and your focus is on the group. And that can be many different groups. That can be the wellness of your family, of your friend group, of your colleagues, of your neighborhood. Like, just a focus on, let's lift all boats, I
just want to say, I'm kind of doing a devil's advocate
I
thing.
know you're really going against the grain of your own book here.
Yeah, I mean, I really am in a different space than I was when I wrote the book. And I do think that, like, we all have eras in our life that are different, right?
Yeah.
You know, like, and accepting the flow of that and, like, making room for different kinds of perspectives within the context of your own life, I think is really important. That book, when I was writing it, I really needed to understand what enough was and where the limits of how much, because I had been in this striving kind of state, and I really needed to kind of put a cap on it and look around and say, I have everything I've ever wanted, you know? But now, having gotten my kids to the point where they're pretty mature, and having, I'm kind of looking back and seeing how I've always had this compulsion to stay small and stay hidden, actually. And, I mean, not my core personality is a show-offy personality, but I have put a cap on that over and over again in my life. And so I think after years of sort of the sacrifice of raising kids, which whatever, it's a self-indulgent thing too, but just living inside this space of, like, it's all about community. It's all about what my kids need. It's all about what my husband needs. It's all about, like, friends and how can I serve my friends. I'm in this era now that's sort of like, what do I want? What do I specifically, me alone, want? And how do I keep these things together while I also honor whatever the fuck I feel like doing? Which I think is, you know, it's hard to be endlessly generous if you can't honor your own weird ideas about what you need. And I do think that, like, if I didn't feel like, the more that I've done this, the more generous I feel towards other people, and the more at peace I am with the world in some ways.
Sure.
Even as it falls apart before our eyes. I feel like I have given more to charity since I've become more selfish personally. So not selfish, but just since I've started to honor my conflicted desires that are not always that just perfect and good and about community. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. So what's interesting, so obviously you're a mother, which is a societal role which is very much shunted into being entirely about your children and about sacrificing the self.
Yeah.
I totally get that. I kind of have the opposite perspective in the sense that I'm not a mother, but I am a business owner with a decent amount of employees, and the societal view on that is the opposite. Like, it's all about valorizing the founder, the CEO, and like making them the star of the show and making them the focus and the one who gets the credit and all of that stuff. And so I think that it's natural to push against what you're pushed towards.
Yeah.
And I also am just, like, disgusted with, like, founder CEO culture. I hate it. I think it's gross.
Oh, yeah.
So I think that it depends on the
mythology of that. You don't like the kind of, like...
No, it's gross. And I talk to them all. I talk to founders and CEOs all the time, and some of them, I think, have a similar approach to myself. Like, we don't run as a co-op, but pretty damn close, and we like all the staff like knows what I earn, like they know how much money everything is like very transparent. And part of that is because we're about financial transparency, so it'd be like wrong for us to not exhibit that in our work culture. But it's also because it is so easy without a strong level of accountability to your team to just snowball into this like mythos and this and to endlessly justify more for yourself. You don't get to a place where CEOs earn 200 times what their staff earns unless that is cultivated and reinforced. I do think that it's natural that because you've been pushed toward a place where you're so expected to be so selfless and so giving, and you're not getting the credit that you probably deserve, that you would push against that. But I do ultimately feel that outside of maybe, giving yourself too much to your children, which I think can often be a problem for mothers, in other situations, I think the benefits of being as external as possible. Another, I think, good example would be like your neighborhood. I don't know how it is in LA, but in New York, no one gives a shit about their neighbors.
Oh.
Like, it's very much like you have two kinds of people, right? You have YIMBYs and NIMBYs. Either people who want the high rise in their street and to have the whole thing, completely gutted by luxury developers, or people who want absolutely nothing to change and are very, like, if you've ever been to a community board meeting, it's just... It's hostile territory.
It's like the Kimmy Schmidt.
Never seen it.
Oh.
Well, but either way, it's just a bunch of people, usually, not all the time, but a lot of people who are just incredibly self-interested and who are attempting to form some kind of cogent group. And I feel like those types of things, life, for example, in a physical geographical community, is usually at its best when you can really actively take the self out of it for a little bit, you know? And I feel we live in a society that really doesn't encourage that I feel like of Americans.
To take the self out of things. I mean, to me, my angle on that is when you are really at peace with your conflicted heart, you can take yourself out of things. Like I spent most of my life giving too much, but being a total show off socially and always grabbing more attention for myself. And now that I sort of give myself the kinds of attention that I feel that I need and grab it in some ways in social media and some ways, on Instagram, like I have ways of grabbing it in my writing. I indulge myself a lot artistically, let's call it, to be charitable. But I would say that since I started doing that, I listen to people in a totally much more focused way. I mean, I've always been a good listener, but I am so much more interested in people and more accepting of people and full of empathy for people, and I connect with people everywhere I go. Like, I trust people quickly. I have because you have this like felt connection to people when you have a really felt connection to yourself. And it kind of sounds like you didn't really struggle with those kinds of connections before. It was natural for you to serve your team. You know what I mean? Like, you might just be a more connected person naturally. So
that's possible.
Natural for you to serve, and you have a lot of values, obviously, and principles. Like, you're kind of principle fixated.
I'm very into principles.
And I don't mean financially.
No. No, I'm very into principles. And I do think it's funny because that chapter of your book about the guru and about the like self-improvement industrial complex so resonated with me because, and I think the world that you inhabit professionally is not this world at all. But in the personal finance space, like 99% of the like thought leaders and people out there, they're men. And they're all that's their shit. Like they love the self-optimization thing and they love the self. It's about the self. It's about your money, your choices, your responsibility, your bootstraps. It's all about you. And I feel like I don't want to get to a place where it's just like I'm trashing that, because I'm not, in the sense that I think that it can provide, like, I have no doubts that Timothy Ferriss's books have profoundly helped maybe millions of people, and people can get lots out of it. But I do wonder, when we put this out in the culture and when this is such a prominent narrative of just extreme self-optimization as if you were a computer program with no real express goal of what that time is used to do.
Well,
what does that teach?
You know what's kind of messed up is it's almost like basic bitches get such a bad rap, right?
But basic bros don't.
Oh my God, but Timothy Ferriss is the ultimate basic bitch. Like, he is the most basic bitch on the planet.
For what a bro is.
These people are shallow motherfuckers. Like, it's not, it's philosophically.
Yes, I hear what you're saying. Like, if his interest, instead of being like fine scotch and surfing with Steve Jobs, or I guess Steve Jobs is dead,
his fucking, dirty martini blowout from the dry bar.
Exactly. It's like, if it were champagne, rosé champagne and a blowout,
exactly.
You'd be like, oh, get it together, lady. Like, go work some charity.
You're so shallow.
So we have a quick few, just real quick rapid fires from our audience before we get into your rapid fires. So you don't have to like be one word on these, but we want to keep them zippy. A lot of people saying you changed their life.
What would they like to know about how I changed their?
One person says, what money issue do you wish you hadn't spent so much energy stressing about in your 20s or 30s?
Oh, I think, I kind of think I should have had a clothing budget, honestly.
You bought a lot of clothes?
No, I don't buy clothes at all. So I do.
I mean, you're wearing some, so.
I am wearing, clothes. Like, I feel like I don't know, I never really budgeted. I feel like it always says in budget books, budget in clothing. And I never allowed myself that luxury. I was always like, no, clothing is that's the last frontier. Like,
that's funny.
But I was still going out to eat.
I
was still blowing money on other things. I just like food a lot. I don't care about clothing that much.
That would be the last to go on my budget, is dining.
I will say this. Buying one totally stupid overpriced thing per year, just saying like, that's not going to be my one thing, The day that I lost my job at suck.com, the place went under. I was out and I was at Betsy Johnson buying like a $300 dress. I totally couldn't afford it. I think I bought two $300 dresses that day. I was just
gosh.
fuck it. I didn't know that we were about. And then I got home and the answering machine, press play. It was like, you don't have a job anymore. You're a writer who writes a cartoon, but you don't know how to draw. Like, that's your skill. Your skill is to write cartoons without the skill of drawing. But yeah, like these boots, which I just honestly found in my closet.
That's the third time she's done that since she's been here, by the way.
It's important for everyone to see them. They are pretty. Wait, you got to see the other one. Wow. It's important to see both of them, okay? These are like boots. Frye boots.
Love Frye.
They're quite comfortable. I bought them in New York. And I immediately walked around New York like, I can't wear these in New York. They're you have to walk too far. But these boots were expensive. And I just walked into Frye one day in New York. It's like New York. I'm in New York. I'm going to buy myself something amazing. Buying one overpriced thing per year, even when you're poor, I think is a good thing to do. It sounds kind of indulgent. That sounds a little out of touch.
Oh, well, it depends on how you define overpriced. But I think having one...
I don't know, 400 seems too much.
I will say that if you have to... The thing is that I'm going to be the wet blanket here and say that if you should budget that into your yearly budget and just give yourself $100 or a couple $100 and say that money, whenever the hell I want, on whatever the hell I want, I can drop it.
I don't like budgets. I have to say, all
right, well, get the hell out of here. The time has come for the famous Financial Confessions rapid fire questions.
Oh, God.
So, rapid fire, but,
Okay.
If you can skip.
I'm kind of a slow person, if you haven't noticed.
What do you invest in versus what are you cheap about?
Oh, God. What do I invest in?
Not Apple.
Do you mean literal investments?
No, it can be anything.
I invest in food that I eat.
Same.
Does that count?
I mean, yes. Is it expensive groceries or is it going?
Yes, all food. Yeah, all food is a huge expense. And what am I cheap about? I'm cheap about furniture, sadly, and I'm cheap about clothes. I'm really cheap about clothes.
Nice.
A little less now, but I have a uniform. That's kind of cheap to have a uniform.
Well, it's a good uniform. What has been your best investment and why?
Best investment. A husband with a PhD.
Nice.
And who's tenured? I should probably add, because the PhD is not the thing.
What has been your biggest money mistake and why? Got to be selling Apple in 2003, right? I mean,
I don't consider that a mistake because the quality of life that I gained by having a house was massive.
All right.
I mean, it was an important trade-off. It's a lifestyle thing, right? When I bought that house, though, I had this year that I was like, this is my year of luxury. And I took money out on a HELOC,
what the hell is that?
It's a home equity line.
Oh, got it.
I took out cash on my house and bought a used Lexus with the cash from my house.
Whoa.
That was psychotic. And the Lexus was like a lemon. It needed constant. I mean, I love driving that goddamn car. I miss it. I drive a Honda CR-V now. I'm like 20 years older. So sad. So sad. Whatever. I never gave a shit about cars. But my dad, when he died, had a Lexus, and I drove it around town right after he died. And it's just like, the Lexuses are nice cars. So, and in LA, you're in your car a lot. I had an RX 300. It was amazing. It was amazing. Driving that car was incredible. It was like floating on air. It was like $36,000 for a 7-year-old car. I mean, it was so excessive.
What is your biggest current money insecurity?
College, paying for college.
Still paying those loans?
No, for my kids.
Oh.
Saving for college.
Oh, at least you don't have student loans.
No, I don't have any student loans. But my dad was a professor at Duke, and I went to Duke, and it was paid for. So.
All right, sounds like those kids are going to UCLA.
UCLA does not pay for. It's a public college, right? Public university. No.
Oh.
If we moved to like a private university, that's different. Yeah.
What is the financial habit that has helped you the most?
Saving in an SEP. Is it SEP IRA? Mm-hmm. They call them
self-employed.
Saving in a self-employed IRA for every single year. I put the maximum in.
That's awesome. And lastly, when did you first feel successful, and what does that word mean to you?
Success to me means choosing your work, like choosing the work that you love the most, and being able to do it and live off of it, right? Choosing the work you want to do, which as a writer is rare. Being able to say no to shit you don't want to do and say yes to the stuff you do want to do. And I would say that started 2 years ago.
Well, congratulations.
Yeah, it's great. I love it.
Well, thank you so much for being here.
It's been so fun. I want to stay.
It has been fun. This has been so enjoyable.
I want to live here.
So where can people find more of you?
So I write Ask Polly. It's on The Cut, which is New York Magazine's kind of fashion website. It's amazing. And Ask Polly's there every week. And I also write, I'm on Twitter at H. Havrilesky. So you just have to do a little search because that's a long last name. And I also am on Instagram. I'm not so good at Instagram. I'm figuring it out. And I have a newsletter called Ask Molly. Molly is Polly's evil twin.
Ooh.
So Molly's into some dark shit. And Molly's a lot of fun.
Subscribe.
Yeah.
So one of the things we talked a lot about with Heather today is the idea of buying a home and what that can mean financially. And one thing that you will definitely want to do if you are in the position of maybe wanting to buy a home in the near-ish future is to get a really good bird's eye view on all of your financial health. And Turbo is a really cool free app that allows you to get that perspective. It will teach you all different things about your credit score, your credit utilization ratio, your debt to income ratio, your net worth, give you all the key information you need for things like when you're seeking a loan or your credit worthiness. Essentially a sort of higher level, more nuanced view of your overall financial health. Because your financial health isn't just about having a good budget, it's also about making sure that you know all of the big numbers under which that budget falls. Because ultimately, what good is a budget if you're not reaching toward a bigger goal? So if you're thinking about that bigger goal and want to make sure that you have all of your ducks in a row going into something like, for example, potentially signing up for a mortgage, you should check out Turbo at the link in our description or our show notes.